This video is brought to you by Project Management Solutions Limited, a Bahamian business committed to showing you ways to use project management skills to make your life better. An organization is an interactive system comprising of divisions, departments, groups, and individuals. Organizations are dynamic and alive. Projects are born of the need to achieve organization's strategic objectives and are created in the context of organizational cultures and norms. At the end of this module, you should be able to give the definition of a project, differentiate between functional, matrix, and projectized organizational structures, define and explain the importance of project initiation, state what happens if some of the steps in project initiation are left out, list and describe the steps to be taken as a part of project initiation, define stakeholders and list the persons and/or groups, internal and/or external to the organization, that fit that definition, describe the importance of stakeholders and explain the importance of properly identifying stakeholders at the outset of the project. So imagine you've just assumed your new role as project manager. You're walking into the boss's office with your notebook in hand and you're excited to find out what this project is all about. The boss sits down and briefs you and lets you know that the project is necessary to realize the organization's strategic objectives for that year. So what is a project? A project is a temporary endeavor. It has a beginning and an end. It develops progressively as it moves through that process, and its end is achieved when its objectives are met or when the project is terminated because its need isn't there anymore. Projects come about to produce a tangible or intangible unique product, service, or result. At the boss's prompt for questions, you voice your concerns about your level of authority, given that your role as project manager involves sourcing skills and expertise from persons senior to you. Some of these persons are assigned to different departments and projects in different business lines where you have no authority. You know full well that in a functional organizational structure, the power base lays in the hands of the functional department head. A functional organization is probably the oldest type of organization. Functional organizations are grouped according to functions. For example, an organization may have human resources, purchasing, and accounting departments. The work in these departments is specialized and requires people whose skill sets relate to that function to carry that work out in the department. This type of organization is set up to be a hierarchy. Employees report to supervisors who report to managers reporting to department heads who report to the organization's head. Ultimately, one person is at the top and that person is in charge. Many companies today, including governmental organizations, are structured in a hierarchical fashion. In this instance, you should be aware of the chain of command. At the same time, you know that not all organizations are structured in the same way. During the course of the project, you may need to interact with project team members and vendors who may work in projectized or matrix organizational structures. Projectized organizations are pretty much the reverse of functional organizations. The focus of these organizations is the project itself. In projectized organizations, the loyalty is to the project, not the functional manager. In these organizations, project managers have ultimate control over the project, reporting directly to the top boss. In purely projectized organizations, functions such as human resources and purchasing, for example, may report directly to the project manager. Project managers make decisions that relate to the project while acquiring and assigning resources, hiring from within or outside of the organization. Matrix organizations are somewhat of a hybrid. Employees in a matrix organization report to one functional manager and at least one project manager. Functional managers assign employees to projects and monitor their employees' work on various projects. Project managers execute the project and distribute work assignments according to project activities. Both the project manager and the functional manager share responsibility for completing the employee's performance review. In a balanced matrix organization, the power is balanced between functional managers and project managers. Each manager is responsible for their aspect of the project or organization. The employee is assigned to projects based on the project's needs, not because the project manager or the functional manager use the heavy-handed approach to acquire or retain the best resources, as the case may be. The classification of a balanced matrix is based on the level of power and influence between functional and project managers. In a balanced matrix, the project manager shares the authority and power to make decisions with the functional manager. This means that although your job level is manager and you may be requesting information and support from senior managers, you have clout, and they will honor your request as if you were their immediate boss. Equipped with a better understanding of organizational structures, your next step is to complete two processes. Develop the project charter that authorizes the project work, and complete the stakeholder register to document the process of identifying stakeholders. Both the project charter and the stakeholder register should be produced as a part of project initiation. The project charter is the written acknowledgement that the project exists and authorizes the project manager to apply resources. The kind of information needed to create the project charter may include conditions under which the project will be executed, anticipated time frame, description of the product, service, or result that the project is undertaken to complete, market and or social demand and organizational need for the project, product scope description, cost-benefit analysis created as a justification for the project, and other strategic information. Another crucial consideration when documenting the project charter is the external and internal environment in which the project operates. It is important to review source documents providing insight into the organization's culture, government or industry standards, political climate, and the organization's policies, procedures, and guidelines for conducting project-related work. With the project charter complete, your next step is to identify stakeholders. Stakeholders may be defined as individuals or organizations who have something to gain or lose by the success or failure of your project. Your goal for identifying stakeholders is to create a register or a list of stakeholders, which is an output of this process. There are several approaches that you could use to identify stakeholders with a view towards creating the stakeholder register. You could review the corporate directory, look at stakeholder lists from previous projects, or you could network. Remember, the processes for completing projects are completed through leveraging networks. Let's take some time to discuss what we learned in this module. Discussion questions. What is a project? Why do organizations undertake projects? How can projects be used for personal and community development? What are some examples of project ideas for personal and community development? What is the difference between functional, matrix, and projectized organizational structures? What are some advantages and disadvantages associated with functional, matrix, and projectized organizational structures? What is meant by project initiation? Why is project initiation important? What documents are produced as a part of project initiation? Who is responsible for producing project initiation documents? Who are the persons or groups internal or external to the organization that fit the definition of stakeholders? Why are stakeholders important? Why is it important to properly identify stakeholders and compile an accurate stakeholder list at the outset of the project? What happens if important information is omitted from the project initiation documents And what does it mean when project initiation documents are signed? What happens next?